I'd like to call the Board of Aldermen meeting to order. Could we all stand for the pledge? Alderman Holly, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. The approval of the minutes, opening and executive sessions for September 2nd, 2014.
Make a motion we approve the opening executive session minutes for September 2014.
I'll second that.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Schluter to approve the open and executive session minutes from September 2nd, 2014.
Roll call vote. Then.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly is absent. Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes. Regular board meeting minutes from September 2nd, 2014.
I make a motion that we approve the regular board meeting minutes from September 2nd, 2014.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Holly, seconded by Alderman Dreyer to approve the regular board meeting minutes from September 2nd, 2014.
Well, roll call vote.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
As we normally do, we open the floor to the public. You have 5 minutes. Does anybody like to come up?
Well, this will be such an afterthought next year, but I'm Bev Allen with Concerned Women for America, Missouri. I'm the state director, and for years now we've been presenting gifts to the members of our General Assembly at the state capitol on Constitution Day. And of course, everybody knows that Constitution Day is tomorrow, September 17th. And so I thought, I'm going to sort of have it. Last year I came and presented some things to you, and then this year I'm presenting you the framed Bill of Rights, and maybe hang in here because a couple years ago we had a religious amendment passed to our Constitution, and one of the provisions of that was for each school that receives state money to hang prominently a copy of the Bill of Rights in their school. So I thought, we need to hang them prominently in most places, in homes, and in public places. So anyway, I want to present you this copy of the Bill of Rights, and also a copy of another copy. I think last year I gave each a pocket Constitution, but we have some new members. Plus, you probably have lost it, and I took one of the tags off. And also, it's just a good reminder on how small the federal government's supposed to be, because this is the federal Constitution, and the people at the local level and at the state level are really the power. So you hold a very important office, and even more important than Congress, I would say. So anyway, enjoy.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Not hearing anybody else. The same opportunities given to the aldermen. Does anybody have anything?
I do not.
I've got a couple issues. I guess to address this towards Terry. Was wondering are we actually going to put out a flyer for the recycling? I know it had been kicked around.
We are.
Mentioned,
Staff is actually working on that as we speak. Our plan is to find the most economical method to be able to deliver a flyer to every home that's on our utility billing list, excluding the multifamilies. So I would look for that to be out within the next couple of weeks.
Okay. I also, I know I wrote this down because I probably end up forgetting, but I remember on the plan of action we talked about I think it was referred to as a citywide newsletter.
Yes.
That we were talking about doing.
Yes.
I'd like to see or proposition in any way we can maybe add a page to that for the aldermen to maybe speak about things that happen in their wards within that time frame.
Sure.
If that's okay, or if we need to put that up for vote or what be it. But
I think that's fine. We have the new person on, and she is doing a super job. As soon as she's caught up with getting what was behind as far as getting the circus all prepared, she's going to have some time. In fact, we're going to talk tonight about getting approval to start with working on the new and improved website. So one of the other things that's on her to-do list will be the citywide, I don't know if we're going to call it a newsletter or booklet or whatever it ends up being, but the plan is to have something similar to what the Rec Connect magazine was that went out last year. And I think there'll be plenty of room for any kind of articles or information that the board wants to add in that. So I think that would be a welcome addition.
Thank you, I appreciate it. That's really all I had. Question.
Okay. Alderman Dreyer, you have anything? Okay. I guess the only thing I would have is, mayor is at a municipal league meeting or conference in St. Louis, and he's not able to be here tonight, so that's why I'm in charge tonight. We'll do the best we can. Okay. Number 7 on our agenda, liquor by the drink for Holy Rosary.
Make a motion, we accept the application for liquor by the drink for Holy Rosary Catholic Church.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Holly to approve a liquor by the drink liquor license for Holy Rosary Catholic Church located at 724 East Boonslick Road.
Roll call vote?
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Number 8, ordinance regarding seated elected officials. We
Want me to address that? At the last meeting, you all had instructed the city attorney to prepare an ordinance that dealt with seated elected officials applying for open, that's a lot to say, open positions of the city. And there is a draft that is in your packet under bills to ordinance, and I'm sure our city attorney would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
No, I personally like the way it was written in the sense that we can't prohibit an elected official from applying. We just, because people have a right to do what they want to do, but the city does have the right not to consider the application.
Yeah, we tried to keep it simple too, so it was very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I do have a little bit of a issue with it. Not anything that can't be fixed, but the 6 months. I know we decided that as a board, but doing a little more research on RISMO 105 through state statute, I just don't. I mean, if somebody like in Brandy's position was to say that came open, they wouldn't be able to come up here and say anything to the board or make contact with us to influence us in any way according to that ordinance. I think that needs to be extended out to 1 year to meet with that, what they're asking for.
It would be really simple to make that modification. I think that's up to you guys. As we kind of discussed it as staff, one of the things we thought was, well, if it was 1 year, it'd be very clean because it would ride parallel to the statute, and it would never be an issue where you'd have a 6-month time period where, well, the 6 months has gone by, then we have to deal with this attempt to influence, which is really the difficult language of the state statute that's really hard to kind of pin down. So if you wanted to make it a year, I think it makes sense, but I think that's something you guys have to decide. You guys recommended the 6 months, so that's what we drafted it as, was the 6 months. But I think that's a good point.
I can live with either way.
Yeah, I can too.
My feelings is the same as yours. I think the 1 year, and agree with the attorney, the 1 year makes it a lot cleaner and would be a better deal.
There's no difference to me.
If you guys want to, we could just change it to 1 year. I think you could still approve it tonight if you guys wanted to, or if you want to wait and see what the board says. I think that's kind of up to you guys.
Should we just address that down when the bill comes
Well, I
up?
think what we could do is, if somebody wants to make a motion now and get a vote to change it to 1 year, and then we'll make the modification, so, because it's not going to change the title, we can still read it twice and pass it tonight to make it 1 year in the body of it, then we could do it tonight if that's what you guys want to do.
I'll make
Make
a
a
motion
motion.
to approve bill number.
Well, not the bill, but just to change bill number 57-14.
To change bill
reflect.
number 57-14 from the wording of 6 months to 1 year.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Schluter, seconded by Alderman Ock to change the wording in bill number 5714 from 6 months to 1 year.
Roll call vote?
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Clark,
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer,
Yes.
Alderman Schluter,
Yes.
Alderman Holly.
Yes.
Motion passed. I didn't say it the first few times. Motion passed 5 to 0, 1 absent. Yeah, got it out. 9. Terry Thorne?
My first item for you this evening is a reminder that on Monday, September 29th, we have interviews for the master plan consultants. We have one scheduled at 6:30 and one scheduled at 7:30. So just a reminder on that. The next item I have is information on the Veterans Memorial Tourism Funding. At last meeting, you all had requested that we get together with tourism and with the representatives of the Veterans Memorial Project, which I did. I met with Rick Mantione and Mr. Carter to discuss what manner we could use to meet all of the requirements. In the meantime, Mayor Dyer had spoken with the state auditors and asked the question regarding whether or not the auditors felt like this project met the tourism requirements. And they indicated that they did in fact agree that it met the tourism requirements. He also asked the question regarding if they had any issues with the funds being used for engineering or architectural fees up front of the project, in that it is not fully funded and there might be a period of time before the actual construction started. The state auditors indicated that they did not have an issue with that and with funds being used for engineering type fees. Did meet with the two gentlemen, talked about the $10,000 in funding, looked at their budget that they have proposed. The first expenditure that they're going to have is for architectural drawings. They have someone working on those that they had just hired the Monday prior to me meeting with them, in the amount of $1,400, which will give them some actual drawings that better depict what the project is actually going to look like, that they feel like they can use to take to other groups and entities, and hopefully be able to obtain more donations. Talked about using initially $1,400 of the $10,000 for that, and then for subsequent engineering as it is completed, because the next step, it is believed, will be after the architectural drawings, then an engineer will need to actually draw up some plans so that those can be used to get out to contractors to get the work started when they're ready. So we did talk about that. Talked about the fact that an invoice would be required from each supplier, and the city needs to make payment directly to those suppliers. We can't just write a check and give it over to the project. We have to be paying actual invoices, and that's something that the auditors reiterated to the mayor when he spoke with them. They asked if there could be a letter of intent or something such as that, so that they actually have something in hand that they can utilize in speaking with other groups, that the city does intend from tourism to fund $10,000 toward this project. And then talked about having a photo opportunity, because the more they feel like that they're able to have photo opportunities and get the information out there, the better gets the word out for the project. So those are the things that we talked about. I don't see any problems as far as state auditors now that they have had the discussion and have given us direction. So really the choice is just up to you to whether or not you want to proceed moving forward.
Do they have a formal name?
They do.
But I think if we make a motion, we need to make the grant to the name of that
They do.
organization. They set up a 50c3, I believe.
Tribute to Veterans Memorial.
Make a motion that we approve a grant to tribute a Veterans Memorial in amount of $10,000.
I'll second that.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Schluter to approve tourism funding to tribute to Veterans Memorial Project in the amount of $10,000.
Roll call vote?
Alderman Clark,
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer,
Yes.
Alderman Schluter,
Yes.
Alderman Holly,
Yes.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Motion passed by 5-0 with one absent.
My next item for you is a request for approval of the item budgeted in our capital budget for the website upgrade. It's budgeted at $25,000 in the capital budget. We'd like to start working on that project.
Yeah, I think we should go forward with it. I think there's significant improvements that can be made to the website to make it more user-friendly as a service tool. Plus, I don't think it should be the responsibility of the chief of police to be maintaining and upgrading the website. I think he needs to be policing, not doing computer work, so.
I agree. And we have found, we've turned the maintenance of the current website over to Jessica, and she's done a great job thus far of improving what we currently have to make sure it's current. So I think having her involved in the project from start to finish will be beneficial. And our first step will be to go out and look at other cities' websites and get some ideas about what are positives that they have in each of those, so that as we describe to whatever consultant we use, we can tell them what we'd like to see and give them some examples. But the first step in the process will be putting out an RFQ, getting qualifications from consultants, and then reviewing those before we move forward. But we need approval to start the project to be able to do that.
What was the amount again?
$25,000 is budgeted.
Do you need a motion to approve the expenditure or to approve the request for funds?
The capital project.
Okay.
But I would say let's not include a specific dollar amount, because until we get the request for proposal in, it could be higher, it could be lower.
Right.
So
I agree.
probably just leaving off the dollar amount would be the way to do it.
I agree.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the website upgrade project, move forward.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Schluter, seconded by Alderman Ock for approval to begin the website upgrade project.
Roll call vote?
Alderman Dreyer,
Yes.
Alderman Schluter,
Yes.
Alderman Holly,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Clark.
Yes.
That's all I have this evening. Thank
That's all
you.
have? Okay. Number 10, Public Works Director, Guy.
Good evening. First item I have is the monthly report.
Do you have a question? Looks like the gallons sold on the cash pumps was down. Was it out of service?
It was out of service due to the wells. We were having issues with the wells, and so we took that out of service. That's back in service, so that should go back up.
Is there any other questions?
Okay, next item I have is approval for the RFQs for engineering for streets, sidewalks, and stormwater. I'd like to go with Cochran Engineering. They scored the highest on their points. And I'd like to get an agreement for professional service with them.
Is that who we're currently using?
We're using them right now for Hickory Lick. And if I get a professional service, if something pops up, because we got some street projects that need to be done, I don't have to do each item. I just have them on hand, and they'll have a task order for each job. So if we have a street going in that we need to do, then it'll be a task order not to exceed and I'll bring that to the board before we start that.
How many times have you used Cochran in the past?
Right now, they're doing Hickory Lick.
Is that the only time you've used them?
No, we use them for other things. They're also for our water.
Very satisfied with them, though?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the Public Works Director to accept the RFQ from Cochran Engineering.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Holly, seconded by Alderman Dreyer to accept the RFQ from Cochran Engineering for engineering services for sidewalks, stormwater, and street projects.
Roll call vote?
Alderman Schluter,
Yes.
Alderman Holly,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Clark,
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0, one absent.
That's all I have.
So, yeah, okay. Number 11, Chief of Police. Looks like we got a fill-in also. Lieutenant Elder.
Just got 2 items for you this evening. First will be the monthly report.
You notice there was 3 suicide calls this month. Is that particularly high? Or would you really have a feel for that? It's
What
just a
it's, what it's
suicide.
coded as here is if it comes in as a suicide call, whether it's an attempt, they succeeded, it's thoughts,
Okay.
it's all coded the same, so
But is that typical that we would get that many? Or,
it fluctuates.
okay.
Do we have anything further on the bank robbery, or can you not speak about it right now?
Nothing that can be discussed in
Excellent.
an open meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Approval to hire Ryan Rowland as a police officer for $17.23 an hour. Starting date of September 29th.
He comes to us with quite a bit of experience. He's going to have quite a bit to add. He's got experience as a campus police officer, investigative experience with the Division of Labor, and he actually worked for St. Louis Metro for a while. And wants to work out here because he just moved just down the road. Would rather work on this side of the river than where he's at now.
When we all.
You were in the interview, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
Pretty happy with him?
Yes, sir.
Good. I'll make an approval to hire Ryan Rowland as a police officer at $17.23 an hour. Start date of 9/29/2014.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Schluter, seconded by Alderman Holly to approve to hire Ryan Rowland as a police officer at $17.23 an hour with a start date of September 29th, 2014.
Roll call vote?
Alderman Holly,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Clark,
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer,
Yes.
Alderman Schluter.
Yes.
Maintenance and Ground Director, Brad.
Good evening. You have the monthly report for August through 5th of September.
Doing a little mowing?
Doing a lot of mowing. Won't stop mowing. It won't stop growing.
Does anybody have any questions for Brad?
Next is the approval of the Binkley playground layout. The park board has approved this, and they're just asking you all to approve it also. We went through, I think we had 5 people that came in and kind of gave us their ideas, that we narrowed it down to 2. And then we went to, took a road trip and looked at the one Hutchinson design down in Darton Prairie. They had just finished a new playground similar, or had some of the features that we were looking at. I also went to 3 other parks, brought those back, pictures of those back. Wasn't what we were looking at, what the board felt like they wanted to keep in with the theme of what we were going to do at Binkley, and decided on Hutchinson Recreation out of Troy, Missouri. And this is what the what we were coming up, what they decided on.
Where's it gonna be at in the park? Where's it gonna be at in the park?
Just north of the pavilion, kind of where the pavilion's at, just to the side where the swing's at in the back. We'll we want to keep it close to the pavilion for when the people have the reunions and stuff. It's close to the to that thing, and then we can also expand down there. There's 2 fingers that can kind of go down, so if we want to add more to it, we've got a place to go, and it kind of keeps it up by the road so the we can keep tabs on it with the security and stuff. So,
I went to the park board meeting, and they wanted to make sure that we knew that this was just phase 1 of what they hope is a 3-phase project.
I see a question. There are restrictions on the use of Binkley Woods, if I recall right, by the donor.
It
But-
has to remain as a park.
Okay, but there's no other type of restrictions as the playground expands that would infringe on that.
no, just the water and sewer was not supposed to be run through it, but that kind of went by the wayside. So, and there's no kind of housing can be placed in it,
Okay.
like an office building or an office or anything.
Make a motion that we accept the bid of Hutchinson for the playground equipment at Binkley Woods in the amount of $27,053.
Second?
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Holly, to approve to purchase playground equipment for Binkley Woods in the amount of $27,053 from Hutchinson out of Troy, Missouri.
Roll call vote,
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Clark,
yes.
Alderman Dreyer,
Yes.
Alderman Schluter,
Yes.
Alderman Holly.
Yes.
Next is the Morgan Park retaining wall bid tabs. I guess that'd be on, yeah. And this was from the budget meeting, I think, when we were doing this. We came up that the city crew, we just didn't feel like we were qualified when we had to switch the different blocks to do this retaining wall, so we were asked to go out to bid this out to see what it would cost. And JTL Landscaping out of Florissant was the low bidder. There's quite a difference from 31 to 22 to 11, and I did a lot of checking with his references. He's worked with Ladue, O'Fallon, numerous entities around MoDOT, and they all came back and said he did what he was contracted to do, did a very nice job on time, and I was kind of questioned why he was so low, but they said he's just young company just starting out and wanting to work. So
Okay, so let me understand. So the estimate here, project estimate sheet shows 19,800, but that includes a guesstimate of 16 for the work. So if we approve the
No.
19,800 and then we approve him, the actual project would come in less. Is that how I'm reading it?
no.
No.
The 19.8, what you see is just the material that we're furnishing. We're furnishing this. He is just furnishing the labor to put it in.
What's Red Rock? What is?
Ready Rock, that's the bigger blocks
Oh, okay.
that we're going to use there.
So we're going to go from the railroad ties to a
Everything
concrete.
that's railroad ties will be gone. Ready Rock will be
Okay,
there. There, that corner up along that ramp, all that, and that little those 2 corners, and then down to the north end there where it kind of comes up the sidewalk, and then it comes up. There'll be one row of blocks around there for.
These would be the big blocks.
Yes. Yeah, we couldn't use the B blocks like we used down at the shed, because that's why we had to change to Ready Rock, because the B blocks will not go 4 high and by themselves are fine, but they're not we can't support the pressure against them, so we had to go to the Ready Rock, which is designed for this.
Do we have a time frame on this? In other words, if we give this to this firm, the agreement this has to be completed by X date, or how do we do that?
Well, we use, I would imagine, we created a couple of years ago, Alderman Ock, kind of a form contractor for contractors that will have time is of the essence language in it. I assume we'll use that on this. Yeah, our general contract form, we can send you a copy of it. It'll have time is of the essence language, but it may not be a bad idea to put, if we have a drop dead deadline and a liquidated damages clause, if they exceed that, usually you do $10, $50, $100 a day. So there's a penalty withheld from the amount of compensation they receive if they don't meet it. So we can talk about that if we want to add that specific contract language on the form.
What do you think, Brad?
The only problem I'm gonna put out there is where this is at is a very precarious position. I mean, with the slope, why that was ever put in with that great of a slope, working on it is, I mean, on a good day, we've had problems with keeping a backhoe on it. And most of this work is going to have to be done up on that bank until they get down in there. So, and then with the weather, I don't know, because if it gets any rain on it, you're done for till it dries out. We have that problem with the mowing it. That there's days weeks that we don't go by mowing it on there. So
What should the city do to protect ourselves? I mean,
My
well, let me ask you a
suggestion,
question. Is the tennis court going to be usable while they're working on this?
no.
Because if it's not, then...
Yeah, no, it won't be, because there'll just be too much stuff going down there to let the people in down there.
I'm sorry, you started to say something, Terry.
there is some language that we've used in construction contracts before that takes into consideration a certain number of days for weather delays. So we could insert language of that nature into the standard agreement so that we tie them into a period of time, but then there's an allowance for a certain number of weather days so that it's fair.
And I think he would go along with that. I mean, just because you gave him 120 days and it got 30 of them rain, he's because this is going to be a very precarious operation to do.
What do you think is a reasonable time frame, if weather weren't a factor, that this could be completed in?
I would say 120 days would be more than enough.
Okay.
I mean, it's, getting the footings in there, the big thing, then setting the blocks is, digging the old ties out and getting those out, that's going to be the thing. And then hopefully it doesn't have a cave in from that bank, so.
And then what's a reasonable number to plug in for weather?
I would have to look at there's a typical contract
Okay.
language that's universally used, but
Okay.
I'd have to look and see what that is.
I mean, I don't feel like there's a rush, but I wouldn't want to get to next spring
Right.
and us sitting on the
Right.
project, because after a while, the court will be out of use for a long time, and the beginning of next spring, and he's still delaying, it's got issues, that's what I'm trying to avoid. So
Sure.
120 days plus whatever for weather, and you're going to hit weather if it goes that long, clearly.
Well, and I don't think, once he opens it up, he's not
Gonna
going to
go
want
quick?
to, he's not going to want to let it open with that, with that wall the way it is, so, with all the dirt.
I have one other question, Terry. This requests $9,800 from our capital sales tax contingency fund. What's the balance of that fund?
There was $300,000 in there at the time that the budget was approved.
Okay.
I think we might have used around 10,000 out of that thus far.
Okay.
Now, you all have already approved this 19,800.
Okay.
You've already done that,
Right.
so.
Well,
we're-
this is what a contingency fund is for.
Yeah.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Make a motion that we approve the estimated material costs for the project in the amount of $19,800.
Second?
Is that what we're looking for?
19
19 or the 11?
No, you're looking for
Oh,
the,
there's two different things.
yeah, but you've already approved the 19.
The 11,000.
Oh, we did already.
Yeah,
So you want approval for the go-ahead on the
The
project?
go-ahead.
No, I need the
11,000.
approval of the,
Contingency.
No, I need the approval of the $11,830.68
For JTL land.
for JTL landscaping.
So I thought typically when we start projects, Guy brings in the costs and we approve to go ahead with
You
the
did,
project.
you've already approved you've already approved the material.
Okay, all right.
That's all been done.
When they got into it, they found out what they were gonna do,
Okay.
wasn't gonna work.
I got you. Yeah, I'd make a motion that we approve the use
You
of,
need to retract the first motion.
but there was no second.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
we
was.
never
Yeah.
seconded it, so it's dead on the floor.
It's dead?
I thought Holly seconded.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna approve. Make a motion that we approve the recommended low bid from JTL Landscaping out of Forest, Missouri, in the amount of $11,830.68.
I'll second that one.
Okay.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Holly to award the Morgan Park retaining wall bid to JTL Landscaping, the low bid in the amount of $11,830.68.
Roll call vote?
Alderman Clark,
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer,
Yes.
Alderman Schluter,
Yes.
Alderman Holly,
Yes.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Do you have anything else for Brad?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Item 13, Building Commissioner, Jack.
Good evening, everyone. First thing I have is the monthly report, if you have any questions.
I don't think we have any questions.
Alrighty, second thing I have is proposed changes to building regulation. We first discussed this back at the August 19th Board of Aldermen meeting. And I have the proposed changes shown in red, and then there'll be an ordinance later to vote on if you agree with the changes. It's basically requiring the subcontractors and contractors to have their occupational license prior to me issuing the building permits, and allowing applicants to submit a set of master plans. So they'd be charged a one-time plan review fee, but be able to use the same plans repeatedly if they'd want to build the same structure.
Are they gonna come back and squawk on the first one? Because if I'm the general contractor and the sub switches, that sub won't have the permit, won't have their permit.
You know,
So in other words, I'm in general, I got Joe Smith, electrician, his firm gets a permit, and he's all right, but then he can't deal with it because other issues, so somebody else comes along.
You can walk in the building and get an occupational permit,
Okay,
usually within minutes.
okay,
It's a real quick process.
okay.
And the reason I'm asking to have that put in, there's been cases where at the same contractor's site, I've repeatedly caught subcontractors out there without occupational license after they've been told repeatedly that it is a requirement. And I just think this will help put an end to that.
What's the penalty if they don't have a license?
I believe they can be fined. We normally give them a card and have them, try to give them 10 days to come up and get it. It's just more of,
So there's no real incentive for them to do it till you catch them?
Well, they'll get tickets.
well, they
I
can
mean,
get a ticket.
Yeah, you surprisingly, there are contractors that I think sometimes seek work to avoid it. Or Jack will go out and they'll have the roofing shingles, well, we're not gonna start yet. They don't come back Monday and then
They sneak in on Saturday
house
and
will
do
be
the work.
roofed. So when you're out there in the field, I think you try to take everybody at face value, but they're not always being completely forthright with you. So there's some discretion there, but, obviously, if they're a repeat violator or we have repeat issues, we cite them, they go to court, they pay a fine, or, if it would be something that would be a larger issue than that, we've now established a housing docket at 115 for our municipal court where Jack would be able to tell the judge that, and I'm sure the judge would do some, more serious penalties than just, a small fine.
We don't have the ability to try to set a more severe fine
Well, we have up to a $500 fine, but, you know, in a situation like that, you know, I could see the judge putting somebody on probation. I could, you know, maybe doing community service through our community service program, and you can also go up to 90 days in jail. I don't know of a circumstance off the top of my head where you'd have somebody that doesn't have an occupational license, but they would get a jail sentence, but it's always possible. But yeah, I mean, we would, you know, bring them in front of the judge, and Jack and I do that docket. We'd probably recommend a more serious punishment or a higher fine. Our maximum fine is $500, but also remember, Alderman Clark, that every day is a violation. So if we can record and show 3 days of violations, that's $500 each. And I think that would be on the extreme because we really just try to get compliance. And I think that's, you know, kind of Jack's motto is, I want you guys working in the city, but you got to follow the ordinance.
I can understand Jack's frustration, but I'm a little worried that this might cause more problems than it'll solve.
Well, I don't know. I mean, to me, let's say somebody comes in and says they're gonna build a house. Well, you know they're gonna need a roof, you know they're gonna need, so when that general contractor comes in for his permit, Jack's gonna be able to say, okay, I need a permit from the electrician, I need a permit from all these functions, so you identify it up front that these people have to come in with all their permits before you'll issue the general. So it kind of gives you control, as I see it.
And the application already lists each
Right.
subcontractor for each different specialty. So it's not like they're doing any additional listing, it's just verifying that the people have their occupational license prior to issuing the permit.
Well, I'm worried about is, because you may not always use the same subcontractor for each job. You might have a list of people, whoever is available, or whoever gives you the better offer at the time. But as a general contractor, you may not know which subcontractor you're going to use. How does that work?
Well, I think the way we have it set up now, because we've had some very frustrating situations here in town where Jack has repeatedly gone out and warned him, and then basically the builder says, well, that's not my problem. And it's nobody's problem, and then we go out there and we're trying to promote growth within the city. I think your point, Alderman Clark, it could be an issue in that situation, but what I would say is the building commissioner always has some discretion in a situation if something like that were to come up. If somebody had an occupational license, somebody else did the work, obviously that's something that we would have discretion in, you know, well, go ahead and get it, we're not going to revoke your building permit or whatnot. My recommendation is, we've talked about this, and these are similar discussions that we have had about this, is if we can try this, it may give us some ability to reform some of maybe the offenders. And I think if it's an issue as we get into the spring or the summer, obviously Jack went out and met with the builders to say, what do you guys want? How do you guys want to do this? You know, we can have that type of meeting again and say, is this, you know, inhibiting your ability to do construction work? It's just whoever's at fault, because like I said, I've had conversations with Jack where it's not like everybody's raising their hand, they're pointing fingers at each other. We can make at least one person responsible under our code to say, hey, you got to make sure this is done before you can start doing this. But if it's a problem, obviously we don't want to inhibit the growth of building homes in the city. We can bring that information back to you guys.
And if there is a last minute change, a simple courtesy call, hey, I had to switch gutterman this morning because my other guy couldn't make it, you know, he's going to hit the side, he'll swing by and get his license. You know, we're not intentionally trying to go out and write violations. And like I say, it's a very simple process to obtain your occupational license. So I really don't see it holding them up.
Are we holding the general contractor to this then?
The existing code already states whoever the applicant is of the permit is responsible. So not only could the subcontractor be ticketed, so could the applicant. Our existing code already states that.
And like I said, I think as we've talked about this and developed this docket to deal with these issues with the judges, it's to try to avoid writing tickets, because those are the situations where, you know, they're doing the work, we delay them, is trying to put something out there that ahead of time we can say, you have to have this done when you turn this in so you can get, you know, so there's no issues down the road, is, you know, hopefully to try to put some of this information and accountability on the front end, so on the back end we're not, you know, doing the stop work orders is a terrible thing. Nobody wants to do them. and they're extreme. I mean, we have the authority to do it, but we don't want to do them. In the situation we had, somewhat recently, we were at the point where we couldn't get these contractors to get the occupational licenses. Our only remedy is to write them tickets and do a stop work order, try to say, hey, you need to come down and get these now. It was a problem, so our hope is maybe by doing this up front, we can at least educate them and say, hey, you have to get this done. We can work with them if it comes up to be an issue later. We can also report back, but just to put that accountability out there up front so that we're not in a situation where we have to consider a stop work order, we have to consider writing tickets. The hope is that this can kind of help us, I guess, eliminate that problem. Jack, would that be fair to say?
I agree, and I would also say that I believe most contractors have their main set of subs that they use regularly, and if they do have 2 or 3 electricians or whatever, there's no problem with both of them being listed, because most of the time they're the local contractors anyway that might already have a lot of the people already have their occupational license when we go to verify it, when we receive applications.
So through all that, let me just go ahead and sum that up. This is accountability to cut down on stop work orders. Good?
To avoid
Good.
to avoid conflict.
I'm good with
It's-
that.
Anybody have anything else?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the.
We got a bill on later.
Okay, never mind.
We're good.
Let's go.
Okay, the next thing I have is some more information and asking for approval for the citywide fall cleanup to be held on Saturday, October the 11th, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. We will have tire recycling here at City Hall where residents can bring up to 10 tires. They need to be off the rims. Have electronics and appliance recycling here at City Hall where city residents will be able to dispose of their recyclable electronics and appliances free of charge, including computer monitors and TVs. Also have metal recycling here at City Hall, where residents can dispose of unwanted metals, iron, steel, aluminum, copper, stainless, brass, tin, free of charge. We were planning on having the yard waste lot opened up that whole day, so the residents can go directly out there and drop off their yard waste without having to come and get the key from City Hall. In our flyers we'll be distributing during the event, we'll have additional information for nearby recycling centers to help the residents for disposal of items that are not included in our recycle day. And then we was going to have a cleanup celebration here at City Hall from 2 to 3 o'clock to thank the residents for participating, provide hot dogs, hamburgers, snacks, and drinks. And we'd like to give away a few prizes to help encourage more residents to participate. Prizes would include an oak tree planted in the residents' front yard. We'd like to do 2 of them, a weed eater, a leaf blower, and some T-shirts that advertise the cleanup. So hopefully next year more people would want to participate to get a T-shirt. There'd be city residency required, proof of residency. My estimated cost, which is an extreme estimate because we really haven't done this in the past. We've been brainstorming trying to come up with a safe amount to cover. I believe we're estimating $5,000. We believe it may be less than that, but that's sort of our worst case estimate. And there's currently $15,000 budgeted for this project. The remaining balance would be used for our spring citywide cleanup. And this budget includes all of the costs associated with the prizes, the food, the shirts, the advertising, signage, labor, and the cost of recycling the tires. We've got it worked out where the only thing we have to pay for is the actual tires. We got a deal now where we don't have to pay for the TVs to be recycled, which was a pretty big
Did one of those 2 companies work out? Or did you find somebody else?
It's one of the locals who's
Okay.
working with us. So that's good.
And the cost of the tires?
It's $2 a piece, which is cheaper than if the resident would go to take it themselves to get turned in. So that's really a plus
That's real
too.
Jack, the one item, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
that somebody asked me about was paint, like paint cans. Are we gonna do anything with paint?
No, like
Okay.
construction debris and that kind of waste, we're really not able to
Okay.
handle here at the city hall. But that would be part of our flyers. There's different ways that you can treat leftover paint and that to get it dried out in the cans where you can actually put it in your normal trash, or some of these other places can take it if it's treated.
Okay.
So all that information will be included. Same with like old drywall or, construction waste, carpet and that. We really can't process any of that here.
Okay.
And
So
then
you're looking for approval for up to $5,000 for this project?
there's 15,000 budgeted. My estimated cost for this would be 5,000.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, and then the last thing I just wanted to make sure we were clear on, I was wanting to make this bigger so I can read it right. Any proceeds generated from selling disposed metal and appliances would be given to the Warrenton Police Department Law Enforcement Explorer Post 9111, which is providing labor for the cleanup, Dave. So it's also not only a community cleanup day, but also a fundraiser to help our explorers. So it's sort of a win-win. And there will be a Arbor Day informational booth set up here at City Hall during the event. Michelle's got some information packets and that she'd also be giving out, which I believe helps you, right, Brad, for your tree grants and that, or Tree City. So we're trying to get as much positive out of this as we can.
Let me
So do you-
make sure I understand. Are you looking to approve the whole 15,000 or just the 5 for this event?
Or just to approve going ahead with the,
Just go
no
ahead.
dollar.
To
amount.
approve the event, there's 15,000 budgeted.
Just to approve the event?
My estimate is
Okay.
5,000,
So you don't
but
want
that's
to cap it.
guessing how many tires we're gonna get. That's the only unknown.
So you just want to go ahead on the project.
Yes.
I make a motion that we approve the fall cleanup event scheduled for Saturday, October 11th.
I'll second that.
Motion by Alderman Holly, seconded by Alderman Schluter to approve the citywide fall cleanup event on October the 11th.
Roll call vote?
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I think it's gonna be quite the adventure.
Is there anything else?
That's it.
Does the board have anything for Jack?
No, but can we go back to Brad for a second? I wonder if when we get ready to close that tennis court, or we know when the contractor's gonna start, if we could put some kind of notice on saying this will be closed, in a week from now or whatever, and probably for 3 months. So, because I know a lot of people
Right.
are in tennis leagues and schedule and all that, and this would give them a heads up.
Yeah, I was gonna talk to them, talk to the ladies that are over there and just tell them, but I'll also post it, keep you
Good.
informed
Great.
where they're gonna, when it's gonna be starting.
Okay, thank you.
Bills to ordinance. Bill number 56-14.
Introduce bill number 56-14 for first reading.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Holly for first reading of bill number 56-14.
Roll call vote?
Hold on. An ordinance to authorize the mayor to execute a
Didn't read it.
cooperative agreement between the Missouri Department of Conservation and the City of Warrenton, Missouri for the trim grant.
I'll make a second.
Call for second reading.
Dang, I want to get ahead of myself. I'm
I'll
so
make a motion
anxious.
for a second and final reading and approval of bill number 56-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Schluter, seconded by Alderman Dreyer for second reading and passage of bill number 56-14. An ordinance to authorize the mayor to execute a cooperative agreement between the Missouri Department of Conservation and the City of Warrenton, Missouri for the trim grant. Now you can go.
Roll call vote?
Alderman Schluter,
Yes.
Alderman Holly,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Clark,
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer.
Yes.
Making a motion for the approval of bill number 57-14 with the adjustment that the language be changed to 1 year.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Holly for first reading of bill number 57-14. An ordinance of the City of Warrenton, Missouri prohibiting certain acts by elected officials.
I'll make a motion to make a second and final reading and approval of bill number 57-14 with the wording changed from 6 months to 1 year.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Schluter, seconded by Alderman Dreyer for second reading and passage of bill number 5714 with the language changed from 6 months to 1 year. An ordinance of the City of Warrenton, Missouri prohibiting certain acts by elected officials.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Bill number 58-14.
Call for first reading of bill number 58-14.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderman Holly, seconded by Alderman Schluter for first reading of bill number 58-14. An ordinance amending section 500.030 and 500.040 of chapter 500 of the municipal code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri regarding building permits and fee schedule.
Call for a second final reading and passage of bill number 58-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Dreyer, seconded by Alderman Holly for second reading and passage of bill number 58-14. An ordinance amending section 500.030 and 500.040 of chapter 500 of the municipal code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri regarding building permits and fee schedule.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Number 15, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Actually, before we do that, I just got one quick question I did forget to ask Terry. Can you, by any chance, have somebody look into advertising this play grant or the play scholarship fund we have somewhere out there? The more people I talk to aren't aware of this out there, and I think if we get it out there more, maybe it'll be beneficial for us and more beneficial for the community. So I'd like to see if you can look into that, please.
Sure.
Terry, I would probably suggest maybe working through the schools, through the counselor's office at all three of the elementaries and the middle school, because it would affect those age groups. And they have care teams within each of those buildings. They've got a pretty good finger on the pulse of what's going on with those kids. I don't know about kids outside of the public school system, but at least that would help get word out to those.
So what position did you say would be
The
best?
guidance counselor.
Guidance counselors.
And
Sure.
I think in the future, especially, I'll probably get with you or get with the people on the board about maybe advertising more to the public for donation purposes as well, to maybe try and bolster that a little bit.
I think once we get the information out there so that everyone becomes aware, I don't know if that's a flyer or if that's a letter that we send, we need to think about what the best mechanism is, but I'm certain that when we do our citywide newsletter, that needs to be a part of it.
I agree.
Both the component for if you want to apply for it, as well as if you'd like to make donation. So I think we need to really advertise it in that as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great program. The more I've looked into it, the more I feel like it hasn't gotten the spotlight it deserves.
I agree.
So,
We'll work on that. Thank you.
I'll make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Schluter, seconded by Alderman Holly to adjourn.
Adjourn.
All say aye.
All say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're good.
Under 1 hour.
Good job.
We figured the 8 o'clock.
Way to go, John Clark.
Did I screw up that bad?
Good, that's all that matters.
I'm not used to it.